Is Gravure really the worst in terms of sustainability? There is a common belief out there: Gravure is not sustainable. It's easy to see why people think that way. In the past, Gravure relied on practices that weren't precisely eco-friendly, like using conventional chrome, Chrome 6, and creating new steel bases over and over for each and every cylinder. But Gravure has come a long way since then, and especially over the past decade, the industry has taken significant steps towards sustainability, making Gravure a far more environmentally conscious choice than it's given credit for. Just think back of Gravure, let's say 20 years ago, 30 years ago. A Gravure cylinder was something like, okay, let's say lead time was 1 month, 2 months, something like that. The price for a Gravure cylinder was 3 to 4 times higher than it is nowadays. Let's say a Gravure tool that was art, it was over €1,000. There was chemicals all around. You had plating tanks, uncovered. People were breathing the chemical, whatever surroundings all the time. So it was an environmentally toxic workspace. Sure, I mean, they were not drinking it, obviously, but the exposure was completely different to what we see nowadays. We have closed stations. We have a lot of measurements taken to oversee, over-inspect the chemical part of it, whatever we do, what we have contains inside the air, the pollution, everything that the whole work environment in a modern Gravure cylinder production is completely different to what we have seen 2 or 3 decades ago, or even a decade ago. Now, and we still see that nowadays. I'm not saying we are the most modern cylinder manufacturing plant. Clearly, there's other modern cylinder manufacturing plants out there. What I'm saying is that I know that there is still cylinder manufacturing plants in the world which were born and built decades ago. And if you would run into one of those plants and the next day you would come in here, you would think that must be completely 2 different industries. But for some of us, the picture lasts of what we've seen 20, 30 years ago, or maybe even 10 years ago. And maybe there is also, let's say, plants which have recently invested, but the environment, the surroundings still is kind of giving you the impression of this. That's not a modern process. That is not lean, that is not clean. On the other hand, there is plants like ours and other plants where you can clearly see, wow, okay, you can clearly manufacture engraving tools in an environmentally eco-friendly way, where there's a lot of recycling going on and where you can clearly see we've addressed those issues in the past. I want to be a bit more specific, so let me please break down some of the steps that we have taken along the way. Gravure cylinders can be reduced almost endlessly, dramatically reducing waste compared to other technologies. You cannot damage, destroy a Gravure cylinders unless you seriously intend to do so, or maybe let it fall in your stock from several meters high. And even those tools, most of the time, are able to be reduced, repaired, or whatever. Just to give you a picture of how robust Gravure tools are. So a base that has been created, manufactured one time, will basically never be useless. You can use that for its whole existence, for all your life, making sure that obviously you have a design that is actually within the same format, so you are able to make use of it, obviously. Next, closed material cycles, and that's what I've addressed already. Materials like steel, copper, and the new ChromeNEO, Chrome 3, are recovered, recycled, and reduced in a circular process. So it's not just waste that we are creating, which might be the impression if you run into old engraving plants. There's so many regulations going on where clearly we cannot afford to do so, at least where we are here in Europe. You can be sure that there is so many regulations and controls in place that we have to make sure that we are able to be more and more eco-friendly, more and more sustainable, and more provide a circular process. Next up is laser engraved cylinders. Laser engraving reduces ink costs by applying just the right amount of ink, leading to a lower ink consumption and environmental impact without compromising quality. Let's get a bit more into detail. Why? And I addressed that topic earlier. Why is it eco-friendlier to actually, obviously, if you consume less ink, that's eco-friendlier. But on the other hand, you need less energy to dry your ink. Low waste production. Gravure's consistent high quality output minimizes waste during production, especially over long runs. What I'm saying is that due to its consistency, there is no reason why you ever have to interrupt a Gravure press. You will always print your current job until the end. Whereas other printing technologies, for example Flexo, which has definitely done a great job of improving its lifetime for Flexo plates, but for longer jobs, you might have to interrupt your print job, set up new plates, readjust the inks, make sure that your first, let's say, run actually is consistent to the second run to complete the whole job. You will not experience something like that with Gravure. Next up, we have water-based inks and solvent recovery. Water-based inks and advanced solvent recovery systems further improve eco-friendliness and cost efficiency. Concerning this topic, you might ask yourself, okay, David, let's talk about water-based inks and how, let's say, established are water-based inks in Gravure. Now I know that the picture might shift from country to country. Here in Europe, clearly we see most of the time that water-based inks have been not established throughout the market so far. Still, there is a lot of potential and we know how good it can actually work with Gravure. On the other hand, there is also challenges and I'm aware about that. What I'm saying is that there are solutions and there is potential that we haven't unlocked so far. Let's talk about innovations in chrome alternatives, and I know that this is a big topic in terms of sustainability. The transition from the conventional chrome to safer options like ChromeNEO and polymer coatings is already making Gravure greener. And if we talk about alternatives, for example ChromeNEO, we have installed a ChromeNEO station just a year ago. And why have we actually done so? One reason is that our customers, you, the Gravure printers, and the brands actually challenge Gravure to be more sustainable. And chromium was a big topic, not only because it has been highly escalated in politics. So we have addressed this topic and we feel like we cannot wait until the current regulation for the conventional chrome runs out until 2032. We feel like the sooner we overcome this challenge, the sooner we make Gravure more sustainable, the more you would say, or the more you would prefer, or the more capable we can make Gravure for you to be a viable option for your future investments. So if we can make something, if we can do something to make Gravure more sustainable, if we can do something in the whole process chain to make something more sustainable, why wait another 6 years? Gravure still has challenges, without a doubt, like managing perceptions around sustainability. And many of you out there still associated with older practices, but the reality is changing and has changed so fast. With the recent improvements, Gravure has positioned itself as one of the more and most sustainable printing technologies methods available nowadays. So is Gravure really the least sustainable printing technologies nowadays? Or are we still making that up because the picture of Gravure that we have nowadays was created several years ago? And that's why I'm here, why we are here. We want to make sure that your picture of Gravure really is related to the current status quo of how a Gravure manufacturing can look like and can process like. So maybe Gravure might be actually leading the way in creating a circular and efficient and eco-friendly future for printing. I'm looking forward to your perspectives. Talk soon.